When did immigrants stop being seen as human beings? If there's one thing I've learned after everything I've been through, it's that history always repeats itself. Only the characters change. Before talking about my experience inside ICE, I want to ask a question. Who are Americans really? When we study the history of the United States, we realize that almost everyone came from somewhere else. Europeans, Africans brought by force, Latinos, Asians, people who crossed oceans in search of an opportunity. The only truly native peoples of that land were already living there long before the arrival of the colonizers. Everyone else at some point in history was an immigrant, and it was precisely this mix that built one of the largest economies in the world. It was immigrants who opened roads, built cities, worked in the fields, in factories, in restaurants, in hotels, in construction, in technology, in science, in healthcare. They took care of American families' children, cleaned houses, paid taxes, started businesses, created jobs, and generated wealth. For decades, the prevailing narrative was that the United States was a nation built by people seeking a better life. But over time, especially with the strengthening of stricter immigration policies under different administrations, irregular immigration began to be increasingly treated as a matter of national security. Enforcement increased, detentions grew, and public perception of immigrants changed in many sectors of society. It was in this context that thousands of people began to live in fear. Fear of leaving home, fear of working, fear of driving, fear of never seeing their children again. So the question changes. At what point did a worker start being treated first as an offender, even before being seen as a human being? This question resonates with me because I didn't know that system only from the outside. For almost 20 years, I lived in the United States, worked, paid taxes, built a life, and contributed to that country. For about 10 years, I worked in positions connected to the American government itself, including activities related to the immigration system. I worked at the UN itself, met people, got to know institutions, and saw what goes on behind the scenes. I believed that all of that meant something, but on the day I was detained, none of it mattered. In that moment, I stopped being a person with a story. I became just another number, another immigrant, another orange jumpsuit, another cell, another case. It was there that I realized the system can see only the category someone has been placed in and not the entire life that person has built. What affected me most was not just losing my freedom, but realizing how dignity can disappear when someone stops being seen as a person simply because they no longer serve the interests of those who benefit. This is not democracy, and justice is far from being impartial. After everything I went through, naturally, questions arose for which I am still searching for answers. Keeping a person detained in an immigration detention center costs, in many cases, hundreds of dollars per day. In some contracts, this amount exceeds $300 per person per day. So, where does this money go? Because what I saw does not match that level of investment. I saw people sleeping in degrading conditions. I saw elderly women and wheelchair users without proper care. I saw suffering being treated as routine. I saw human beings losing their own dignity. If so much money is allocated to this system, why were we treated as if we had no value at all? This is a question I still hope to see answered. Why were certain decisions made? Why was I treated that way considering my entire journey? And even if I had no involvement with national power, it was not worthy of any human being. Were there only migratory reasons, or were other interests involved? I don't claim to have all these answers, but I believe I have the right to ask these questions. I hope that one day they will be answered with transparency, because no one should be reduced to the word immigrant. Behind that word, there is a mother, a father, a worker, a family, a story. It was precisely this story that they tried to erase, but it remains alive. And that's why today I chose to tell it, because some immigrants matter and others do not.